Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to logically unpack the raw, totally unfiltered philosophy of relentless personal development to find out what it truly takes to build an unbreakable mindset. We've synthesized some intensely motivating source material for you, and we're diving deep into a framework of extreme dedication, sacrifice, and psychological endurance. So if you've ever wondered what actually separates the legendary from the average, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down the specific architecture of greatness.
Let's just kick things off with this question. What if you could become someone nobody thinks you can be? It's the kind of thought that literally makes the hair on your arm stand up, right? What if I can actually pull off a miracle? It's the realization that you have this profound, deeply personal responsibility to prove to yourself, not to anybody else, just to yourself, that you are not a mistake, that you have all this untapped potential just waiting to be unwrapped. All right, let's get into pillar 1, the call to be great. To really understand this call, the source material uses this incredibly chilling battle analogy to point out a harsh reality of life. Picture 100 people going into any high-pressure situation. Out of those 100, 80 of them are just targets. 10 shouldn't even be there at all. 9 of them do most of the actual fighting. But only 1 is a true warrior. This reveals that in almost any arena in life, there are just so many people who are merely showing up and going through the motions. You have to make the conscious, active decision to be that single, solitary warrior who does the real work. And you know what's really fascinating here? Ambition isn't just framed as some ego trip or an excuse to buy fancy things. It's actually a massive responsibility to be the absolute rock for your loved ones. When hard times hit, and let's be honest, they always do, your family is going to look around for a pillar of strength. The framework challenges you on this. Make sure when they look around, they find you. You're stepping up so you can take literally anything life throws at your inner circle. Which brings us to pillar 2, paying the price. Look, if you wanted to build a tough, patient human being, you wouldn't give them a completely easy life where they get everything instantly, right? Toughness has a price tag. And the crucial takeaway here is that you don't buy success with money. You literally purchase it with the irreplaceable seconds of your life. The source brilliantly describes this as a time wallet. You have to trade the seconds, minutes, and hours of your finite life to acquire these elite character traits. The hardship you go through, that's simply the currency leaving your wallet to buy the person you want to become. Think of your life as a giant ledger. Every single mundane daily habit compounds to either make you that formidable person or completely break you. On the plus side, we've got the actions, reading a book, getting up early, listening to an educational program. On the minus side, the distractions, the partying, the nightclubs, sleeping in. The source material actually goes as far as to call that kind of rampant distraction weakness for the soul. It emphasizes that dodging that superficial late-night lifestyle is an essential part of your training. Every choice is a mathematical entry on your life's ledger. To really ground this idea of relentless ledger building, the source shares an unbelievable story about basketball legend Kobe Bryant. The narrator of the story set a personal goal to beat everyone to breakfast at a training camp, waking up at the crack of dawn. But when he got downstairs, Kobe was already there. He had ice packs on his knees and was entirely drenched in sweat. He hadn't just woken up early, he had already finished a grueling workout. And the kicker? This was just days after playing in the NBA Finals. Exhibiting that incomprehensible dedication when most people would be resting on their laurels, that is exactly what paying the price looks like in reality. Now, obviously the journey is packed with setbacks, so let's move to pillar 3. Redefining failure. To actually succeed, we literally have to rewrite the dictionary definition of failure. In this mindset, failure isn't an endpoint. It's merely your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth attempt. It is a necessary stepping stone on the path to mastery. The source explicitly states that the only true failure is not trying at all, or just quitting completely. If you fail a test or miss out on a promotion, the framework's advice is brutally simple. Get over it, move past it, and use it as a learning curve. So when people inevitably ask, well, how do you handle failure? The answer is actually found by looking at the legends. Legends aren't defined by their successes. They're defined by how quickly and how fiercely they bounce back from falling short. Just listen to this incredibly powerful quote from boxing icon Muhammad Ali. He reminds us that the limitations others place on the world are entirely subjective. When small men throw around the word impossible, just because it's easier to live in the world they've been given than to actually change it, you have to recognize that impossible is just a dare. It's absolutely meant to be challenged. Moving right along, we enter Pillar 4, Mastering Your Mind. This is a conflict we literally all face every single morning, the mind versus the feelings. To achieve any level of greatness, your mind has to be strictly stronger than your feelings. Because your feelings, they'll coddle you, they'll tell you to just roll over, take an extra 30 minutes of sleep, and avoid the cold morning air. But your mind is the general. Your mind has to command you to get up every single day. You have to actively outwork your own biological desire for comfort. To show you the sheer power of what a mastered mind looks like, the explainer highlights this chilling moment in boxing history. During a legendary fight, George Foreman was hitting Muhammad Ali with everything he had, just absolutely devastating blows. But Ali, leaning in, simply absorbed the hits and whispered, "Is that all you got?" Foreman later admitted that hearing those words deeply penetrated his spirit. He had given his best, and it just wasn't enough to break Ali's mind. Ali looked into Foreman's pupils and knew he had won the mental war long before the physical one even ended. But how do you maintain that mental armor? The answer is just 365. There are no winter arcs. There are no temporary seasons of hard work. It is a 365-day continuous circle of staying motivated and staying hard. Winter, spring, summer, fall. You have to love yourself enough to stay disciplined every single day of the year.
Let's trace how that relentless 365-day mindset actually plays out over time. On day 1 and every day after, you just look in the mirror and ask, did I get better today? By year 1, you're working constantly and frankly, nothing visible happens. It's lonely. By year 5, you are persisting while you watch your peers fall off and quit. And it's not until maybe year 15 of relentless unseen daily discipline that the explosive hockey stick growth takes off. It's never an overnight success. It's this grinding process of compounding tiny daily improvements into a masterpiece. And that brings us to our final section, Pillar 5, Pain, Pride, and Legacy. There's this fascinating, kind of uncomfortable reality check about your youth, specifically your 20s. Basically, there's no perfect path. It's all a trade-off. You can choose to live them up, partying and socializing, but you risk waking up as an underskilled 30-year-old. Or you can work them up, grinding in isolation, and risk becoming an underlived 30-year-old. The framework urges you to just accept the trade-offs of your youth to build a formidable future. You have to choose which reality you'd rather face when you hit 30. And speaking of trade-offs, you also have to choose your pain, because pain, it's totally inevitable. The source identifies 2 distinct types. The pain that breaks you is the permanent, haunting agony of unfulfilled potential staring back at you in the mirror late in life. The pain that changes you is the temporary exhaustion of progress, the burning lungs from a workout, the tired eyes from studying. You must consciously choose the temporary pain of the daily grind over the permanent pain of regret.
The explainer brings this deeply philosophical point home with a crazy anecdote from Army Ranger School. The narrator reflects on the exceptionally dark, grueling hours and days of that training. But looking back years later, he doesn't actually remember the specific physical exhaustion. That completely faded. What remains is the sheer exhilaration of achievement. The lasting memory is just the pride of making it through.
Which naturally leads us to this classic absolute truth of a mantra. Pain is temporary, pride is forever. If you can push through the exhaustion, the pain completely vanishes from your physical memory, leaving only the permanent, solid pride of what you accomplished. But if you let the pain stop you, then the pain of quitting, yeah, that lasts forever. All right, let's wrap this up with some highly actionable steps derived from the source. They call it the 6-month ghost challenge to take control of your life. Step 1, dedicate yourself exclusively to your goals. Step 2, do not announce it to anyone. No Instagram posts, no broadcasting your plans. Step 3, disappear and do the dark, lonely work in total silence. And step 4, reemerge in 6 months as a completely different, highly capable person. It's essentially a blueprint for constructing a life story that's actually worth telling. Ultimately, the true test of your legacy comes down to one vital, super provocative question. Ask yourself this before you go to sleep tonight. If you wrote a book right now about your life exactly as it is and handed it to someone, would it actually change their life for the better? If the answer is no, then according to the architecture of greatness we've just unpacked, well, it's time to get to work. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you the blueprint you need. See you next time.